Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me. In today's video, I will address if Airbnb stock is a buy, and I'll use my simple 6-step framework for analysis. So, let's get right into it. First step I like to consider is the customer value proposition. For Airbnb, they offer unique properties that attracts travelers looking for an experience. It's different from hotels and resorts that offer similar properties with similar experiences. There isn't much different there. Airbnb offers broad availability, and that does a better job fitting traveler needs than the one size fits all hotel rooms. For instance, you might be traveling with your entire family, so you might want to look for a home instead of just one hotel room. Okay, and vice versa, you might be traveling alone, so you might prefer smaller accommodations than an entire hotel room, right? So you have different needs as a traveler during different trips that you're going to take, and so you're going to want a different type of place to stay during each of those times. And so Airbnb does a better job of matching your needs with supply that's available on its platform. So as a result, its revenue has increased from 2.5 billion in 2017 to 6 billion in 2021. I take that as evidence that customers are finding its offerings attractive, right? Because if they weren't, then sales wouldn't be increasing as fast as they are. And so Airbnb's only customer is not travelers, they also need to attract the other side of the equation, which is people to list properties on the platform. So, on those terms, the hosts, as they call them, they can make money on extra rooms in their homes, apartments, and more. So, in that end, if you're an individual that has a two-bedroom apartment and you're using only one bedroom, Airbnb offers you the opportunity to make money on your second bedroom. So that's an attractive option as well. Moving on to the next step, which is the unit economics. So Airbnb runs an asset-light business model. It doesn't own any of the property listed on the platform. It invests in creating the platform that attracts hosts and travelers, and then it makes revenue off of each transaction. In that way, it doesn't take on the risks of spending the money to build hotel rooms and build resorts and wait for customers to come and rent them out, and taking on the risk that the money that it spends building these places doesn't attract enough revenue to make up the difference between the costs enough to make a profit on it. In this way, off of each transaction, Airbnb takes a percentage, and it's accretive to the bottom line. Each incremental customer adds to the bottom line. This also allows for economies of scale as investments in the platform are spread across a wider user base, right? So the more users it attracts, it spreads that investment across all of those users, and it makes the costs lower on an individual user basis. So evidence of its unit economics are showing up in its operating profit margin of 9% in 2021, and so far in 2022 it's surpassed 10%. The next step I like to consider is the total addressable market. So according to Statista, the market size of the hotel and resort sector worldwide peaked at 1.5 trillion in 2019. Of course, the amount of travel spending crashed in 2020 because of the pandemic and all of the travel restrictions. It's slowly rebounding as vaccines become widespread and travel restrictions are easing worldwide. Still, the industry is expected to hit 1 trillion in 2022. Again, that's according to Statista. But even if the industry does recover to 1 trillion in 2022, it still has the potential to grow by another 500 billion over the next several years, just enough to get back to where it was in 2019. However, arguably, I would say that it will surpass 2019 levels because of all the pent up demand there is for travel. People have delayed vacations because of the pandemic, and so they're going to unleash that pent up demand over the next several years. The next step I like to consider is competition, and I would say the competitiveness in the industry is light. You're not seeing Airbnb and Hyatt and other travel companies sending out coupons, offering discounts, investing in expansion. The competitiveness in the industry is light. Okay, that's on the customer side. On the supply side, scale is going to be key. So whoever reaches bigger scale faster is going to have an advantage because hosts are not going to want to sign up listing their property on several platforms. Listing your property on a platform takes several steps. It might take a little bit of time. So as a host, you're not going to want to have your property on Airbnb and another platform and another platform and one after that. So overall, competitiveness in the industry is light for now. All right. Another critical step to consider is valuation. And for Airbnb, the stock is relatively inexpensive. According to its price to free cash flow of 48, it's just about the lowest that it's been over the last 3 years. Similarly, if you consider Airbnb's forward price to earnings ratio, trading at 39.45, it's about the lowest that it's been since January. And the final step to consider are risks. So for Airbnb, there are regulatory concerns. Cities and governments around the world are clamping down a little bit on the amount of properties that can be listed on Airbnb's platform. As you might imagine, if you're a homeowner in a quiet neighborhood, you're not going to be happy if your neighbor lists their home on Airbnb and you have vacationers and uh, different people coming in and out and in and out all the time in the home next to you. So you're going to complain to your council member, you're going to complain to your mayor, you're going to complain to your governor, and you're going to want tighter restrictions on who and how much platform homes can be listed on Airbnb's platform. So that's a risk. Another risk for Airbnb is that it cannot ensure consistently high quality customer experiences. Um, Earlier, I mentioned that Airbnb doesn't own or operate any of the properties listed on the platform. These are run by hosts. So the host is the one that's going to determine the quality of the experience that a guest feels, right? If the host is a good host, is very accommodative, makes sure everything is where it needs to be, meets and communicates with the guest, then the guest will have a good experience. However, if the host is not a good host, then the guest will have a poor experience. And meanwhile, all of that is out of Airbnb's control. So that's a risk. If customers experience a bad outcome on a vacation, they're not likely to return and they will probably complain to friends and family, and that might create poor word of mouth and that could also hurt Airbnb. Okay, now the verdict. So the customer value proposition, Airbnb was good. I have it highlighted in blue there. Between good, excellent, or poor are the three choices, and I rated Airbnb as good in terms of the customer value proposition. In terms of the unit economics, Airbnb has excellent unit economics. It doesn't own the property listed on the platform, so each incremental sale transaction is extremely positive to the bottom line. In terms of its total addressable market, Airbnb's is excellent, absolutely excellent. A $1.5 trillion total addressable market is one of the best ones out there. And the competitive position in the industry is good, right? Light, very light competitive forces in the industry. You're not seeing a lot of promotions. You're not seeing a lot of price cutting and expansion. So overall, it's good. And then the valuation highlighted in green here is inexpensive. We saw the price to earnings and price to free cash flow is just about as low as it's been in the last year and 3 years, right? The risks for Airbnb are moderate. They're about in the middle. Those risks that I mentioned in the previous slide, regulatory concern and the lack of control, are moderate risks for Airbnb. Overall, I would rate Airbnb stock as a buy, right? The majority of the instances are in its favor, and then arguably the most important consideration, the valuation, is certainly in its favor. So overall, Airbnb stock is a buy. And fair disclosure, I am an Airbnb shareholder. I do own shares. Right? So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment down below. Let me know what you think about Airbnb stock.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with the Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beat the market by more than 250%. Go to fool.com/Parkev to get your 10 stock picks now.